What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we'll be talking about something that I've been pretty excited about for the last few weeks since I've purchased it, and that will be the Icon G2 Ratchet from Harbor Freight. Um, like I just mentioned, I bought this 2 weeks ago, and it has been my dedicated quarter-inch ratchet so that I could make this video and give a good idea of how I like it. So this has been my previous go-to ratchet, essentially. It is a snap-on, non-locking flex head, and I've completely taken that out of my box for the last couple weeks and have been solely using this one for anything up to 15 mil. Um, and yeah, so we'll be directly comparing this ratchet to a snap-on equivalent of the locking flex head. Uh, and then we'll just real briefly compare it to this bare bone gear wrench ratchet. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, everyone, so getting into the meat and potatoes of this video, I want to start with the physical characteristics of the new Icon. Um, as you can see from just the way they're laid out right here, the Icon is going to be the longest ratchet in this bunch. Um, I believe that this is the shortest quarter inch that they make of the new locking flex head. I could be wrong, but um, at least at the store that I went to, this was the shortest quarter inch. Um, and as you can see, it is still right about 9 inches long. The previous snap-on that I was using as a daily driver is measuring in at 7 3/4. And I would call this gear wrench and this snap-on a normal length quarter-inch ratchet that I'm used to. Um, and those are coming in at about 6 3/4 and just shy of 6 1/4 on the shortest snap-on. Um, so, with that being said, let's go ahead and move these two for a second. Like I mentioned, this has been my favorite length for just a go-to quarter-inch ratchet. Um, this is about an inch longer, the Icon is. Um, and it's kind of been, it hasn't been a deal breaker for me just because it is a flex head. So if the handle is ever obstructing me from getting to anything, I can most times move this handle out of the way and gain clearance to whatever I'm working on. So it is long to the point to where it's an inconvenience sometimes, but it's not a complete deal breaker for me. Um, I would imagine that they will make a shorter one of the G2 here coming up probably this year. I couldn't imagine that this would be the shortest quarter inch that they make for um, a locking flex. So that's that. And I want to go through this and go ahead and just get all the cons out of the way. So that is one thing that I listed in the con section. So sticking in that same section, I want to go ahead and talk about the locking positions. So if we pull this next to this, we'll go ahead and just leave them unlocked. You can see that the snap-on, the teeth here that the mechanism would lock into to lock the head in place. This has a lot more, not a lot, but a few more teeth than the more coarse Icon. Um, I believe that the Icon has 10 locking positions, and then if it's in the unlock position, you get a full 180. But as far as locking, you get 10 positions. And I checked on the Snap-on website, and I couldn't find anything, any information on the amount of locking positions you have. So me just going through it and locking each one in its own particular slot. This Icon has 10, and the Snap-on was either 11 or 12. I want to say it was 11 though. So one more lock position is not a big deal to me. It's not going to impede my ability to use this tool efficiently, right? Um, so that's more so just an observation. It's not too big of a deal for me. And let's go ahead and go to another point on this locking mechanism. Um, if I leave it in the unlocked position, the head is a little floppier than I would like. And I have tightened up the screw here that mounts the head to this yoke. Um, yeah, it's just a little floppy for me, for my liking, in the unlocked position. Like if I were to do the same thing here, takes a good bit more effort um, to move that head. I understand that seeing that on camera isn't really proof, but yeah, it's just something that I noticed. It isn't the end of the world because it is a locking flex head. It's not dedicated, just a flex head that can freely move, you know. So when that is an issue, let me just lock it in place. Um, Another con that I've noticed is the socket retention. Um, so this is what I usually use anytime I just need a 1/4 inch socket. It's a snap-on shallow. Throw it on there, goes on really easy, comes off really easy as well. Too easy for my liking. You see, it's just zero effort. And so I thought, okay, maybe it just doesn't like this socket. But even on a Koken semi-deep, goes on easy, comes off way too easy. And it has happened maybe 2 or 3 times now to where I was driving a nut down on this post, and then I go to get it tight, pull the socket, the freaking ratchet off, and the socket stays there. And I have to go back in and work the socket off and keep on going. That's not an issue on the snap-on ones. And let's see. So a way that I was going to try and display that to y'all was one finger in. I'm able to get that off super easily. All right. Let's do the same thing to a snap-on. A lot harder to get on, but not hard, I would say. And if I try and do that same thing, it takes a lot more effort to the point where it hurts some. Yeah. You just got to work a lot harder for it. And I believe that does go for both both ratchets. Just a lot more effort that goes into it. And so I was looking at it. When I go to press this ball bearing in on the icon, you can do it really easily. Whereas on the snap-on, you can do it, but it's a lot harder and it doesn't feel too great on your nail. But like I just mentioned, you can do it. It just takes a ton more effort. But I did watch a video of a guy talking about his new 3/8 icon G2, and he didn't seem to have that issue because he had mentioned socket retention, and he says that it's an amount where it's good enough for him. And just watching the video, it did look like his bearing kept the socket a lot more secure than mine. So maybe it's just this particular ratchet that's having that issue. And that kind of brings me to another point, the new packaging that they do with these. This 1/4 drive is sticking out of the package and you can mess with it. So maybe when you're out at the store picking whichever one you're grabbing, Um, Maybe test this bearing, see which ones you think will be best for you. I know when I was looking at mine, there was maybe like 4 or 5 on the rack, and I kind of tested the back drag on each one, and I went with this one because it seemed like it was the lightest. Could it be all in my head? Sure, maybe, but it seemed like this one was the lightest, so I went with this one. Um, so that is all I have for the cons, which isn't bad. Let's go to the similarities that I've noticed on these ratchets, and that is going to be head size. So the only reason I have this gear wrench out is because gear wrench does have a really slim head. Now, granted, their drive, the quarter-inch drives are a little longer. Um, I saw that pointed out in a video not too long ago, and I was like, oh yeah, true. So that longer drive kind of defeats the purpose of a slim head, you know? Um, but anyway, if I put these next to each other, like so, you can see that it is quite a bit shorter than the Icon. I'll try and get that even for y'all. Right, you can see that difference. But yeah, when I put that up next to the Snap-on that it's directly comparing to, the head dimensions are the exact same. And if not the exact same, then it's a difference that would make no difference when actually using this tool, because they are just that close. And even in the length here from the top of the head to where it mounts, it's like copy and paste there. Super similar. Yeah. So like I said, here the widths are identical, and then in the length of the head also. So I put that under a similarity. Well, also I noticed that the on-off switches are, they look almost the exact same. Neither of them sit recessed, but I haven't had an issue with either of these flipping into the wrong direction while I'm using it. What I have noticed is that the Snap-on has a much more definite click when you switch it into the position you want, while as the Icon kind of more easily just flicks over. There's not a solid click when it hits each side, you know. But I mean, it's not a big deal. I haven't had, this isn't too loose to where it's just too easy to switch it, and it's also not too stiff to where you really have to work to get it over, you know. That's just a similarity. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the pros of this new Ratchet. We just talked about head size, which I do have as a pro. The back drag on this Ratchet is stepped down from the previous generation. So it is, they did improve that, and it is a pretty smooth Ratchet. I will say it is smoother than this gear wrench, but I don't think it's as smooth as the Snap-on quarter inch. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that this has a ton of back drag, right? It is a really smooth Ratchet, and it's only been like 2 or 3 times to where when I'm taking a fastener out, I've had to finish it with my hand. But with that being said, I know some ratchets will stop ratcheting, and then you go to take it out, and it's still just a little too tight before you can get it out with your hand. So I haven't had that issue with this. So to me, that back drag is good enough. That's an improvement from the previous generation. And over the gear wrench, let's talk about this locking mechanism. It's familiar to a lot of us, I'm sure, from the Matco ratchets. Only difference being that it doesn't sit recessed like the Matco ones do. It just sits a little proud. I haven't had this accidentally switch over into the unlock position or vice versa while I'm using the ratchet. So it's good. I like it. When I did first get it, this switch here was just super tight and it was kind of a pain to get it to switch over. Um, but I think after the first week, it is when it freed up some, kind of broke in, and now it's no issue. You can go in and out of the positions really easy. So I'm glad that happened because I know on the Matco quarter inch that I used to have that had this same mechanism, it was real stiff. It was a pain. And it took a lot longer for it to break in even just a little bit. So this has broken in faster, so I am glad to see that. Let's go ahead and move into the comfort grip. Obviously they have updated the comfort grip design from the previous generation, and that's a good thing because I had the 3/8 generation 1 with a comfort grip and I did not like it at all. This is an updated design. You can see that has that curvature in the bottom part to fit your hand nicely. It is a softer rubber, and all the red you'll see on the handle is a plastic. And then of course the icon logo here is the same rubber as this. It does have the little diamond texture here, if that'll show up on the camera. And then same here with another little icon logo. I actually never even noticed that. But yeah, I do like the improved grip quite a bit. Real nice. Do I like it more than hard handle? No, I don't think so, but that's not the point of this video. They have improved this, and I am satisfied with this new design. Hopefully this kind of helps. All right, y'all, so my camera died, so I let the battery recharge, and now we're back. This is closing out the video. I did have this pros and cons and similarities sheet kind of pre-filled out to kind of direct the video. So let's go ahead and recap everything that we already went over. We'll knock the cons out of the way. The locking positions, I did put kind of sort of there as a con because that's really just comparing it to the Snap-on that only has one extra locking position to it. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not a deal breaker. So that's there as a kind of. The length, it is just a little too long for me. That is really my happy spot for a 1/4 inch ratchet, but it may be different for you, so there's that. The socket retention is definitely an actual issue that I'm not too stoked about on this ratchet. It might just be a one-off thing for this ratchet. If it keeps going on for me, then obviously lifetime warranty will take care of that. And then the floppy, when unlocked, it's just a little too easy to move the head around for my liking when it's in the unlocked position. But an easy fix for that is lock it. So there's that. Let's go ahead and knock the similarities out. The head size is identical basically to the Snap-on, and the on and off switch is also very similar to the Snap-ons. Both of those are things that I do like about this ratchet, so I did put a pro for those. The head size we just talked about. Back drag is definitely a lot less than the previous generation, as well as that gear wrench we talked about. It's just not quite there with the Snap-on. The comfort grip, big improvement, I think. I like this design a lot more. And then lastly, the flex head locking switch is good. It loosened up to the point I like it, and it's just a low pro design that I haven't had any issue with. So I think a lot of people will be happier with that versus that setup. But yeah, that's the end of the video, y'all. I do appreciate you guys tuning in, talking about this thing with me. So yeah, Check out some other videos on the channel if you haven't already. All right, y'all. Thanks. See ya.